Hello and welcome. I'm Lynn of Lynn X Stitches Creates, and welcome to my Flosstube channel about counter cross stitch and the project bags I make. It is Monday, January 29th, 2024. This is episode 108. Welcome back. I know I've been gone for a month now. I did all my Flossmas videos and then I kind of disappeared, which I had already left. Those were viewing if you watched them. Excuse me. So welcome back if you're a returning subscriber. Hello if you're new. I hope you like what you see. Get enabled a little bit. I have a lot of stitching to show. I've been busy. Even though we were traveling, I was able to get a lot done. So sit back, buckle up, get a cup of tea, and enjoy. Excuse me. I think I'm going to have the hiccups now. I have been, for the last 50 days, in Australia. My husband and I, for our 35th wedding anniversary, which was last July, we've been planning this trip for 2 years, because to get on these cruises, you have to jump on them as soon as they become available. And we wanted to go last year because we knew we were going over Christmas, and our grandson would have been little and wouldn't have noticed that we were gone. Of course, this year he did notice we were gone, but the joys of technology, we were able to Facebook Messenger, video chat with him almost, not every day, but a lot of days. And we even, a couple of the places we were at, the timing was just right where he was getting ready for bed and it was morning in Australia and we were at a zoo and we were able to share with him animals that we were seeing. I think his mom was as excited as he was, quite honestly. There was one of the last zoos we went to in Tasmania, the Tasmanian Devil Zoo. There was a kangaroo area, and you were able to go in and feed them if you wanted or pet them, because they're kangaroos, which I did not realize, are actually nocturnal. So during the day, they may be awake, but they're just kind of dozy. They're laying on the ground, hanging out. So you can go up, you can feed them, you can pet them. They're still wild animals. You still have to be careful. But we walked up to this one that's kind of laying on the side, and all of a sudden I realized there's feet sticking out of her stomach. It was a mama, and the Joey was in the pouch, and he was wiggling around, and next thing you know, there's an ear and his feet are sticking out. So my daughter was on, and my grandson, he really couldn't quite grasp what it was. We were showing him pictures just a little bit ago, and now he understands. But she saw that, and she was so excited that there was the Joey coming out of the pouch. So long story short, I have a lot of stories to share. I am not going to try to share 50 days worth of travel stuff tonight. And I will wait until the end to talk more about our actual travels. So that way, if you're interested, you can hang around. If you're not, that's good too. I understand. So, I have a lot to share. I've got stuff kind of everywhere. I've got some things that have come in. I've got some gifts. So I'll start with my orts for the year. The last few years I've been getting a plastic ornament, and my daughter has a cricket, so she puts the year on it for me. And this is all the orts for 2023 from January 1st until December 8th. Technically, no, December 7th. Anything December 8 on was Australia, and I have a small ornament, clear plastic one, that I'll have my daughter, put the date in Australia and all that. And I've got all my orts saved from my stitching throughout. But these are my 2023, and I think they look so pretty. When I first learned that people were saving orts, I'm like, that's kind of weird. But then at the beginning of 2020, I thought, you know what? I'm going to save them for a year, and I'm going to make an ornament. And I've been doing it ever since. So that's that. Let's see. This, no, not that. This was some stitching that I did before we left. I did not do a floss tube, so I'm pretty sure you have not seen this progress. This is from the Black Needle Society, B-Box, Tiny Modernist, We Should Be Friends. And I worked on this while I was babysitting my grandson a few different times. If I can find a picture of where it was, I will put it there. And there's where I am now. I was adding this flower. I think I added these too since the last time I showed it. So it's getting there. I think I'm going to save the words for last, because for me words are pretty quick. But I really, really enjoy this stitch. I'm looking forward. This is going to be one of my focuses to get done this year. So that was that. Let's see. My, drat, I forgot one. Hold, please. Okay, so the day we left, if you watched my Flossmas videos, I had the Poutini Advent Calendar box, and this pattern, When I Think of Traveling, came in that box. So the day we left, I started working on that, and I worked on it pretty exclusively for the first few weeks we were in Australia till Christmas Day. Something just made weird noises. Sorry about that. My daughter was texting me. So anyway, this is how much I did while we were gone, and I will bring this with me. I have the Beach Please retreat coming up at the end of this month, so I will take this with me and work on it some more. So I've got quite a few motifs done. I just need to add the G to traveling. And then I am going to, this is the Roman Colosseum. The other places, all the other places I've been, and since I have not been to Italy yet, I asked my friend, Megan, the Frozen Crafter, to rechart that and make it look like Uluru in Australia. Uluru is the Aborigine name for Ayers Rock, you may have heard of. It's a monolith in the middle of the Australian desert. We went and visited it. It was quite spectacular to see. We went at sunrise, and it sort of changes color when the sun hits it. It's not like sparkly or anything. I had all these visions of what that meant, and basically it just changes to a darker orange as the sun hits it, and then, you know, of course there's shadows on the rock, so it was very cool. But so that will be continuing to work on that. So that was that. So that was my travel start. Then I have Christmas Day. I started December Down Under by Lindy Stitches. There are 5, and I did the quokka, which is a small, it's related to a wallaby, but it's not. It's not in the kangaroo family. It's a little bit different. And a platypus. And we did not get to see any platypus. They're still kind of rare. They don't thrive in zoos, so they're not in any zoos. I was really hoping to see one live and in person, and not just the one zoo we saw a taxidermy platypus. I was kind of like, that's not what I want to see. But I did finish my quokka riding the platypus. Now, I did not put flying fish. Platypus live in rivers in Australia. So, and flying fish are only in the ocean. We did see flying fish, but that was out at sea. So I just left the flying fish off. And I think I'm going to try to make them into an ornament. We'll see how that goes. But I have 2 other pieces of fabric cut. I think I would like to do all 5, but we'll see. So that was that. Then New Year's Day, my friends on chat, we decided we wanted to do a start along. And we, after much voting, Hands On Design was the designer we picked. And then we all picked something from our stash to start. And I have been wanting to start the laundry series for a while. So I did this one. I'm not sure if this is the first one in the series, but the Never Ending Cycle. So I had gotten a piece of toweling, and I've got pieces to do the other 3. And here's my finish. I started this on New Year's Day, and I finished it, I believe, on the 8th of January. And these are the called for DMC. And I was a little worried that they might get lost, because I had wanted to get, I've seen this in white, and I got the cream color because by the time I was ready to buy it, the store that had the white didn't have it anymore. And I saw this at a different quilt store when I was doing the quilt shop hop back in August and September. So, but I think the colors work. So what I want to do is, in my laundry room, I have a pegboard, and I'm going to string some string and use clothespins and hang this on there. And I may not even finish, I may just do like a straight stitch and leave the frayed edges, because if they all frayed, I forgot to serge them before I left. But I don't think it looks terrible. I think it looks kind of cool. So, I love it. The Never Ending Cycle. And then on the 10th, I started the Climbing Goat Dragon Journal. A field guide for dragons. A field guide is what the SAL is called. It's a mystery SAL, and I'll put what it should look like so far. I have not done much of the border. I haven't even finished the word dragons, but I got a good bit of my wyvern in, so I've got gons. And then, so I've got one wing, his neck, and this will be his mouth. Flame will be coming out. I only had brought with me an 8x8 Q-snap, so it was a little difficult to work on this. This is just over 1,000 stitches. I was using it for a challenge with my friends. And And this cute little needle minder is from, I've got it right here, from my friend Liz, who is Stitching by Liz, Stitches by Liz, Stitching, I'll put her name. And this is from, is it Ginger Stitch AU? Yeah. Ginger Stitch AU. I hope you can see it. It's not going to focus. And she also gave me some floss drops. Aren't they gorgeous? Like those. So I have them in with my dragon, but this is by Climbing Goat Designs. Gorgeous colors. There's all the colors for this Sal, and I'm stitching it on Forbidden Fiber Co. Creme Brulee. It's a 28 count Lugana. So you will be seeing more of that. I need to catch up because, you know, February 10th, the next part will be dropping, and I don't want to be behind like so many of my other Sals. I want to try to keep up with this one because it is a lot of stitching. But of course the first piece had the border too, so I'm hoping that just the other dragons will not be as, you know, stitch intensive. Then I decided I wanted a little break in what I was stitching. So on the cruise ship that we were on Oceania Cruises, and they had, any day that there was a sea day, it was chat, coffee, and needlepoint, because I guess needlepoint kits are easier, they think. I don't know. But they had these free needlepoint kits, and I made a scissor case. And it's pretty cool because it will unzip. This one corner is tough. I tried to get everything. And now the zipper's gonna get stuck. That's odd, because it's not caught. But it'll open up all the way if I keep going. There's a ribbon inside to tie your scissors to so you don't lose them out of the case. So just a simple needlepoint. I did not do any fancy stitches. And then I got a second kit I have not started, and it's just a little coin purse, or you could use it as a tiny notions bag, whatever. So, and that's the whole kit there. So that was kind of fun, something different. Basically one sea day, I just decided that's what I was doing. My husband was playing on his phone, and that's what I did. Just from morning till night, got the thing done. I feel like I'm missing something that so I also started Black Needle Society as part of the Nice List box. Gave us the materials to finish this, and it's called Celebrate All Year. They gave us the materials for the finish, and they gave us the fabric for the first 3 months. So for January, February, March, first 3 months, and then the floss for January's. And January is National Hot Tea Month. So of course, you know, I had to do that because tea. And I started it I think I started that. Dragon I started on the 10th. So this I started on the 8th. Because I finished something else. What did I finish? Quokkas. I feel like I'm missing something else. I have to go back through pictures. But I finished this just last night. Hot tea and cinnamon sticks, honey, chamomile, lemon slices, all the good things. So that's a round finish. I haven't decided if I'm going to use the finishing. We'll see. Finishing is not always things that I get done, so we'll see. After I put the dragon away, I pulled out birthday start, or what, it wasn't supposed to be my birthday start. It was supposed to be my just kind of until it's time for my birthday start, but I got so into it that I just kept going. Black Needle Society Moonrise Snail. And I did my own color conversion. I pulled from my Cottage Garden Threads colors that I thought would work. And my fabric is by Red Thicket. It was a fabric dyer that I found at the Crazy Woman Retreat in Wyoming last September. But it's Red Thicket, 28 count linen in the colorway Quarry. And this is my finish. So I love the color. That's probably more representative of the color of the fabric. But there's our snail with all the moon shapes. I think he came out really good. So that was my moonrise snail. I think now the only snail that I haven't done is from last summer's carnival, Camp BNS, that I didn't get to go to. I have the pattern, but I haven't started that yet, so we'll have to see. Maybe I'll do that next. And lastly, as far as stitching goes, once I got that done, or got my once I finished my hot tea month for January, I went back to my bobbins, and I don't know if I had him going when I filmed my last floss tube. I think I did, but I finished him up. I'm starting to do the back stitch on him, but I also started December, which will be a bobbin and a Santa hat, because I want to get this done. I don't want this to linger. These don't take that long to do. So I'm going to get that finished up and have it so that it's cute. So that's seems to be all the stitching that I did. While we were in Australia, I met in Adelaide, I met Felicity, who is Flissy Fish on Instagram and Flosstube. And Felicity, if you're watching this, I expect to see a video very soon. When we were in Adelaide, she took us up to Mount Lofty. She took us to the Hague Chocolate Factory. And we just had an enjoyable, our ship, the only day, 35 days we're on this ship. The only day it was late was when we went to Adelaide, and I was meeting 2 different friends. So we just did a couple of things with Felicity, and then later in the afternoon we met up with Chloe, who is Miss Chloe NSW, New South Wales. Is that right? I'll put it. And all the people that I mentioned will be in my description box. But she made for me a tray. It's got my name, and it says Floss Queen, that pretty purple. And then look at this. Isn't that awesome? It's blue. And inside there's scissor fabric. She's got the little zipper pull or scissor fob, whatever you want to use it for. And then the top. So it is very cool. And she is going to be selling them on Etsy, I believe. So there is the card. Hopefully it will focus. So thank you, Chloe. I thank you again. I love them. So cool. Looking forward to taking it to my retreat. Okay, so that was, and then of course we met Liz and her husband Ross in Melbourne when we were there for a second time. We were in and out of, Melbourne was kind of one of our jump off cities in our trip, but at the end of our time at sea before we went to Tasmania, which was our last 3 stops, we stopped in Melbourne and we got to have lunch with Liz and Ross, and you know, Liz gave me the needle minder and the floss drops. It was so great to meet all these ladies. And then when we were in Tasmania, we got to meet Pippa and her daughter, who is Pippa Brown on Instagram and Flosstube. Everybody that I've mentioned has Flosstubes. That's really how we got to know each other. I did not get to meet Gail Phillips from Wombat Hollow Crafts in Sydney. She couldn't get away from home to meet me in Sydney. And then Mel, who's Patchy Pony Stitcher, she had to work the day I was in Hobart, and we didn't get to meet, which was very sad because I've been watching Mel since I believe 2019. So I was really looking forward to it, but maybe another time. I would love to go back to Tasmania. Tasmania was all of Australia was beautiful. It's so different, and everyone's so friendly. And my Australian friends, forgive me if I'm saying names wrong. While I was there, I was doing better. But sometimes, just like if you're an American and you see this word, you want to pronounce it Brisbane. In Australia, it's pronounced Brisbane. So there's a lot of things that I learned how to say while I was there and was saying them correctly or almost correctly, and then I think I've fallen off. So it was a great time. Okay, I have got some things that came, my subscription things that came while I was gone. So I have from Thread the Needle Stitchery, I have my monthly Athena's Floss Pack, and this one for January is inspired by Gryffindor. Oops. And she put in a couple of stickers. Whatever jingles your bells. And cozy and warm. So I'll put those over there. So the flosses, if you haven't seen, for January are Sassy Brass by Classic Colorworks, Bandana by Classic Colorworks, Cupid, which is a favorite red for me from Classic Colorworks, Sunflower, and that one's Gentle Arts, and then Buckeye Scarlet, which matches pretty well, which is also Gentle Arts. So very, very Gryffindor. If you know Harry Potter, you know that very much is Gryffindor. Let's see, from, oh, a new dyer, and I can't remember who I was watching, and they gave a shout out to this dyer at Christmas time. It might have been Tiger Lily, but this is Pirate Robin Designs, and I just wanted to give them a try because, you know, I don't have any floss. So this is the first time I'm opening them to see them in person. So these were colors that I picked. So we have Fog, which, look at that blue-gray. Ooh, that's pretty. We have Joker. Look at those colors. We have Noel. Very pretty. And this is actually, yeah, it's looking a little brighter than it actually is. And then Green with Envy. Isn't that pretty? So, Pirate and Robin. So I will be trying those. And then, and I don't remember ordering this, but I must have. I ordered a mystery fat quarter from Fangirl Fibers. It's a 28 count even weave. I'm very lucky because the post office was not good to the bag and it almost ripped right through. Thankfully, this bag is heavy enough that it didn't. The original bag, and it was wrapped around like this is folded around. That original bag was right through. So thankfully this bag was this big and protected it. So this is our mystery fat quarter. So there's the color. It's not as quite as dull as what it looks like on camera. It's kind of a red clay look to it, but I don't know why it won't focus. So I have to find something to put on that. And I have to write down what it is too. So I'm gonna put that back together. Let's see, from Rebel Stitcher, I got my needle minder club and my cottage garden threads. So I'm not sure which one's which. Sadly, I opened up I saw what it was, but I've kind of forgotten too, so that's good because I opened up my Facebook and right there in front of me was someone had posted that they had gotten theirs and I had only just paid my invoice and I was like, spoiler. But I'm very good at forgetting things, so. Okay, so these are my cottage garden threads. So we got a little penguin. So since he's got a blue head, I'm thinking it's a little penguin. They used to be called fairy penguins. Now they just call them little penguins. And we got to see them on parade in Australia, which was amazing. They're so cute. They're only like this big. Okay, so we have, oh, Happy World Embroidery Day. Look at those colors. Very pretty. Is that a bonus one, Colleen? We have Sail Away, Tropic Sea, Sawyer. That's pretty. Ooh. It's not quite as bright as what it's looking on camera, but it's pretty. And then Blue Wren, which is very pretty. I may have picked up a blue wren while I was in Tasmania. I wanted to go visit Cottage Garden Threads, and I emailed them before we left, and they're like, oh, we're sorry, we don't have a storefront. I'm like, really? Man. And I told a couple of my Australian friends, and they didn't realize that either. So, and then, so this should be my needle minder. I kept the scissors nearby, and I'm still having issues getting things open. So Colleen always wraps them up all pretty, so it's a surprise. And the red tissue paper is part of a clue to what it is. Okay. So we got blackbird stickers. And we've got, it says Blackbird Pie, handmade by Jersey Girl Stitch Company. So some counting pens. And it looks like a floss drop in there. Some stork scissors, because you can never have too many scissors. And then the needle minder. Blackbirds baked in a pie. I have to watch Colleen's video now to find out what the inspiration was for this. So, very cool. Very unusual. And those scissors will now go in Miss Chloe's box. I'm sure you've seen other people. I got my issue of Just Cross Stitch magazine for, excuse me, I am so sorry, spring of 2024. Keepsakes is very excited. They were featured in here. There's the shout out section from the editor, and Keepsakes was mentioned. So that's pretty cool. And then, I know, we're 40 minutes in, and I still got stuff. I got to go to 2 cross-stitch stores in New Zealand. I was in Australia. in Tasmania, on the island of Tasmania, which is basically the size of Ohio. Oh no. My needle minder broke apart. I was traveling. A couple of things I'm not going to show that I bought because they're going to be gifts. But I stopped at in Tasmania. I stopped at A Stitch in Time, which is in Hobart, and usually they're closed on Mondays, and I just left that with it. But Pippa talked to Carrie Lynn, and Carrie Lynn very graciously opened the store for 2 hours, and I spread the word on the ship amongst the needlepoint group that there was, you know, a store open, needlework store open. I don't know, Pippa, if you find out, if anyone other than me went. I mean, it was my birthday, so it was a very nice birthday present, and my husband is like, just get what you want. I had a credit card. So I did spend a bit, but I bought things that were Australian, not things that I could get here. So I got some Cottage Garden thread colors that I don't think I have. I forgot my list on the ship. So I think I might have Bluebell actually. I got a Skylark, Passion Flower, Bouquet, Plum Pudding, I think that's all, Puggle, and a Puggle is the baby of a wombat. And if you don't know what a wombat is, they're very big, sort of bear-like creatures. I mean, they're very big and pudgy. They're adorable, but they're very strong, so you don't mess with wombats. And then Bird Bath. So I picked up those colors. I found a couple of pieces of fabric. That one's a gift. So this one is Fox and Rabbit. It's a 32 count Black Swan. And then, because you've heard of Fox and Rabbit. But this one is another Australian, I believe. Pippa, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe I was told this lady does this just for A Stitch in Time. But it's fancy fabric. This particular piece is 28 count casual linen in Arctic Fox colorway. But fancy, and there's her information if you'd like to check her out. She's got a website, an email, so, and a Facebook page. I just saw that. So, but that was a dye, another Australian dyer. I wanted to get things that were specifically, I know I could get Fox and Rabbit in the US, but then I have to pay import fees too. So I'll have to check and see if I got a good price on it or not. I think I did. And then I got Moho Stitches. This is this year, Reindeer Dance, Abyss Cornu. I got, this is Hands Across the Sea Samplers, which some of you may have heard of. They did a design that's exclusive for A Stitch in Time in Hobart, so I had to get that. and it's called A Stitch in Time. Stitch in Time saves 9. So it's a red sampler. I know Brendan, the serial starter, always say you have to have a red sampler going. And I just thought that lettering was so different. So, and they had it done up on all different counts. They had it made into a project bag. They had it made into a tote bag. They had it made just framed. Teeny tiny count. So that was really cool. And then not gonna show. Well, I want to show one. So, Frog Cottage Designs is another Australian designer. I don't remember where Carrie Lynn said that they were out of, but there's her design. There's her logo. So, and I got another one, but that's a present of Frog Cottage. And then, not cross stitch related, but I had it in with my cross stitch to keep it safe. I met on the ship a lady named Laura who is an artist, and she brought prints of watercolors that she had done to give as gifts because it was Christmas time and she wanted to share with people she met. So the crocodile that she did it before this one. She did from a picture before she went to Australia. She's actually going to be in Alaska. I don't remember if she said March or June. June would make sense, but I want to say it was before that. But she's going to be doing an art show in Alaska and doing more native Alaskan type things. So that was most of the things that weren't gifts that I got for myself at A Stitch in Time in Hobart, Tasmania. When Felicity and John and I went to the top of Mount Lofty, we wandered in the gift shop, as I do, and they had a cross stitch kit. So had to get a cross stitch kit. They have 2 other designs. They only had one other one there, but I just thought that was funny. You see cross stitch everywhere. And then lastly, we took the last day we were in Australia. We were back in Sydney off the ship, and public transportation is very, very easy to use in Australia. If you are going to go to Australia, you don't have to worry about renting a car. Sydney, Melbourne, Fremantle, Perth, trains are very simple to use and very clean, very reliable. I'm told they're not always, but anytime we wanted to go someplace, it was right there. And in Sydney, part of their public transportation are ferries, because Sydney is on a, I want to say a cove, and that's not right. It's a harbor. And there's different places that you can go to on the ferry. There's a zoo, in fact, from Sydney. It's across the way from the Sydney Opera House. So we use the ferry, and all you do is when you get to the turnstile, you tap your credit card, you go, when you get off the train or the ferry, you tap it again. And that's how they know how much to charge you. And it wasn't bad at all. When we were in Perth, it was the port was called Perth. We were really docked in Fremantle, which is about 10-12 miles from Perth. We bought a pass. It was just an all-day pass, and I think with that one, John and I shared it. It wasn't even like we each had one. It was $10 for the two of us, and we rode all day, and you could ride all day as much as you want. Get on and get off, and so it was very easy to travel around. So if you're going to Australia, keep that in mind. Let's see. And so the last day we were in Sydney, we took a train up to Killara, to the Cruel Goblin. And I only have pictures from the outside because they have posted on the door no pictures inside, which was kind of sad. And I want to show some of these. I'm looking to see which ones I'm... So I got another Moho Stitches, the Humble Sampler. This is also a 2023 release. And it says, who seeks to be first must rank himself last and learn with complacence? Sorry. And learn with complacence to wait on the least. So that's the Humble Sampler by Harriet Turner, 1868. It doesn't say on here where Harriet was from. I'm hoping Australia, but I don't know. But that was new, 2023. And then there was another designer called Sovereign Samplers, and she is local to the Cruel Goblin. And I bought a few of her patterns, and I'm going to show a pincushion that she designed that I thought was so pretty. And I got a couple others, but they're gifts, so I can't show them. But yeah, so got to go to 2 cross-stitch stores, which was at the end of our trip, and I hadn't been shopping at a cross-stitch store for over a month and a half at that time, so I kind of maybe went a little crazy, but then again, maybe not, because like I said, I tried to stick to things that I would have to pay import fees to get here, or I wouldn't see here. 2 of those designers you don't see here in the States, so I thought that was kind of cool. So yeah, so that's all the stitching and all the haul and all the stitchy kindness. I'm at 46 minutes plus 7 from, yeah, so we're almost at an hour. I'm gonna throw some pictures in of some of our travels. The first part I will explain. We were on the Oceania Regatta from December 21st until January 25th. We left December 8th. We did that because we wanted some time, because the cruise ship, of course, is only going to go around the outside edges of Australia, Tasmania, and we even went into Indonesia, into Bali, for 3 stops, or three days, basically. It was 2 stops, 3 days. We were overnight in Bali, and we went to Komodo Island. But before that, so before we got on the ship, there were things in the interior we wanted to do. So my husband, he created this trip. He did all the airlines, and I mean, we were zigzagging across. I spent so much time in airports at the beginning. I was like, but I couldn't wait to get on the cruise ship, just so that we didn't have to be lugging luggage and figuring out. At one point, we had luggage in 3 different parts of Australia, because when we flew into Sydney, arrived on December 10th. We lost Saturday, December 9th. That's in the mists of time. When you fly that way, you lose a day, when you come back, you gain a day. So we left Thursday, we left Friday, December 26th, and got home. We were supposed to get home. That's another story, and I'll save that one. We were supposed to get home Friday night in the U.S., 10 o'clock. We gained a day. So we had December 26th for 2 days. My husband has a diabetes sensor, and his sensor was going crazy because it was recording 2 different readings for the same time period, and they were actually 2 different days. It couldn't figure it out. But anyway, so when we got into Sydney, we went to the hotel that a week later we would be coming back to, and they stored our large bags. We took our small bags with us and flew to Darwin, which is on the north coast of Australia. When we got into Darwin, we had been traveling for 50 hours before we finally got into a bed. It was a long day. We took a small plane, did an aerial tour of that area and Kakadu National Park, which is gorgeous. Saw all these waterfalls, landed, and this is like a 6-seater plane, smallest plane I had been in up to that moment, and you'll know why later. Landed on this dirt runway, went on a Yellow River cruise, which we saw crocodiles and other birds and things. And then there was a Aborigine history for the they don't call them tribes. What do they? I forget the word they use. I'm sorry. I'm just going to say tribe. But for the Aborigines of that area, there was a whole history museum. And there were cave paintings found in that area. And they only had examples of them, but they did have one piece in the museum that had fallen off the wall in the actual cave. You weren't allowed in the caves. And so they had it in the museum. And then we flew back to Darwin, and then we got on another plane and flew to Melbourne. So then we were in Melbourne for a couple of days. We took a bus tour to the Grampians National Park, where we saw our first kangaroos. We saw emu. I mean, side of the road, you see kangaroo. They're like deer here. Emu, you don't see as often, but they do run wild. And cockatoos, the sulfur-crested cockatoos, if you remember the show Beretta, they're like pigeons. They're everywhere. It's crazy. But we went, and we hiked around the Grampians, which was very beautiful. Took the bus back into Melbourne. The next morning, we were supposed to do a balloon ride, but that got canceled, and we didn't do it for another couple of days. We flew to Uluru, or Ayers Rock. When we got there, we got on the smallest plane I've ever been on. It was a 4-seater Cessna, 1 propeller. Took an aerial tour of Uluru and of Katajua, which is another stone monolith protrusion a few miles away from Ayers Rock, from Uluru. Amazing sights. So this was a late afternoon flyover, and it was very bumpy, and it was because it was so hot that day. The heat of the desert was just rising and making the airplane jump. But well worth it. I didn't get freaked out, so that was good. The next morning we were up at sunrise, or before sunrise. We picked up on a bus at 4:30 taken into the national park and to a viewing area and got to watch the sunrise and hit Uluru. And then we took the bus and went to Katajua and walked into in between some of the rising. And I'll put pictures at the end so you can see some of these places. But these things were, at one time, were underwater. This part of Australia was under the ocean. So some of it is very much the sediment layers. You can see how things kind of shifted, and it's really cool. And it's very windy. So you have to be careful because the ground's uneven as you're hiking in. We were the last ones. There was two tour guides, one that was in the front, one that was in the back, to make sure there were no stragglers. And I was still very stiff from all the traveling we had been doing, and my knees were not happy. So he was like, "Don't worry about it, it's fine." And so, but it was so well worth it. Highly recommend going to those places. Then we flew back to Melbourne, and then we got to do our balloon ride over the city, which was pretty amazing. We missed our landing spot. Our balloon missed the landing spot, so we went farther than everybody else. So by the time we got back for breakfast, everyone else was already done because that was part of our package. And then we just kind of hung out in Melbourne. Forget what else we did there. I would have to look at pictures because, that was back in December. Then we flew to Adelaide, and from Adelaide flew to Coober Pedy, which is an opal mining town. Most of the town is underground. The hotel we stayed at was built, it was built from old mining shafts. Our room had no windows. So it was cool early in the morning, but I tend to be very hot, and so does John, and we had a fan, and that was about it. With your door closed, it gets stuffy. So it was interesting. The problem with Coober Pedy is, once you hear one mining story, you've heard the story of the town, and you really don't need to see 3 other museums worth. We did go to see the Catholic Church, which is also underground, which was very pretty and small, because the town is small. There's like 1,200 people. We hardly saw any of them. We did a little shopping, but it wasn't 2 days worth of travel. One of the opal shops, he also does kangaroo rescue. So we went back at the end of the day, got to feed some of the kangaroos, and I got to hold a baby Joey, which was a lot of fun. So, and then from Coober Pedy, I think that was about the time we went back to Sydney. Oh, yes, we went back to Sydney, and we got to tickets. We had tickets to the Sydney Opera House. We saw their Christmas concert, which was, if you are a musical, oh my gosh, mind blown. It was 600 people. It was 3 choirs, 600 people singing, an orchestra doing the Hallelujah chorus, the acoustics. Oh, I will never forget that. If you know music and you know what I'm talking about, wow, just wow. But the concert was wonderful. Nitty Nat Stitches was part of the choir. I did not get to connect with her. She was busy, and I didn't message her early enough to remind her that I was going to be there. So, I was trying to figure out how to get a message backstage to her, but it just didn't happen. So, and then we got to go see Wicked. Was at the Lyric Theater there in Sydney. Amazing show. Amazing show. That was wonderful. And then it was time to get on the ship. So that was the first 10 days that we were in Australia. Just adventures around the country, really around the country. So I will put in some pictures at the end. I will save the video from the cross-stitch store until I get to talking about that in a couple of weeks. So I'm just going to add a little bit every week because it's an hour-long video already, and you don't need to be. It's going to be even longer when I put pictures on. So thank you for staying this long. I hope to see you next week with more stitching, and I'll have more Australia stories. Until then, happy stitching.